Hey guys, this is Roy Haas here. Today we're going to be reacting to some Grant Cardone. There's a couple clips where he's doing some sales calls. Also, he's teaching somebody how to do cold calling. So in this sales coaching, we're basically analyzing other techniques, other ways to go about doing things. So we're going to take a look at a couple clips here and let's see what happens. Hey guys, in this channel we do everything related to sales. That's B2C, B2B, enterprise, primarily with a lot of focus on B2B. But that also includes sales coaching on cold calling. That includes sales coaching on high ticket sales, all of that. If you haven't already subscribed, then consider subscribing. If you want to leave a like, that'll help the YouTube algorithm. And if you have any questions, any suggestions for future videos, then by all means, do leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. And if you've already subscribed, awesome. Thank you. Let's get into the video.
At night to train on their lunch break. When they're on the clock, their job's to be on the phone.
Very true.
So I got it all covered here. Selling basics, understanding the buyer, the sales process, okay? Theory of closing, closing strategies, incoming calls, prospecting, follow-up, mastering a cold call, customer.
Okay, so this is, just to pause this here. He's going through features and benefits. And you want to be a bit cautious with doing that because when you're going through features and benefits, you're talking more than the client. So you're not really hearing out what the client has to say or what his position is. Now, granted, I will say a couple things before I go any further. Grant Cardone has done well for himself. There's clearly things that he's doing right, just in terms of the business empire that he's built. However, the style that he has, there are a few things that I would disagree with. In terms of how effective it is nowadays. The style that he's sort of personifying here is more akin to old school sales, Zig Ziglar and those kinds of sales methodologies. But when you actually look at this, he's right off the bat, he's being very aggressive, pushing his benefits, things that he has. And the client is, or the prospect in this case, is sort of being beaten into submission a little bit. Like, yeah, right. Right. Like he might not even actually be agreeing. He's just listening out of politeness. So that's kind of something I'm picking up on already.
What does that really mean? How to stay motivated? The top traits of great salespeople. Out of your 18 people, how many of them want to be great?
All of them.
Well, good, good. And some of them a little more so than others, depending on what day it is, right?
That's very true.
So this is an affordable, measurable way for you to train your people, okay, without you stopping running your business. I'm running 4 companies over here, man. I want to ring.
Okay, so here's the thing. He's selling here, right? He's doing the selling element. Now, the thing is that in reality, in the modern sales approach, you don't want to be selling on a call. You want to be closing on a call. So most of the sales should already be done before it gets to you. Now, the reason that he's having to sell here in this call is because that isn't the case here. So he has to be doing the selling. He has to talk about the products and features. The problem with that is that just from this, I mean, I could tell that we're a minute in. There's another 18 minutes to go, and he's selling pretty heavy. So I could tell you, and I would bet that this is it's unlikely that this is going to close in this call. And the reason for that is very simple. That he's bringing in a whole lot of features and benefits. He's bringing in a whole lot of new information, in other words. And whenever you do that, you're going to basically push your client into a position where he's got a whole lot of new information that's been presented to him. And now he needs to make a decision. Well, how can you make a new decision when you just had a whole bunch of new information that was presented to you? And now you need to go right on the spot and make a decision. That's not usually how decisions work, especially if there's a lot of money on the table or a lot of money to that prospect. You know, like if the deal is $10,000, $50,000 to get his company sales training, and then he's expected to just, get a whole bunch of new information and being sold on the phone, and then just here's my credit card for 50 grand, unlikely. However, if most of the selling was done beforehand and this was a closing call, there's a much better chance of that happening. Now, even then, it's still probably going to be multiple calls if that's the price. But just to see him selling like this seems also like it's a little bit of a pitch. As in that there's actually a presentation involved here. So I don't know if he's doing a screen share and he's showing him things on the screen. So if that's the case, the reason for that is going to be value. He wants to demonstrate value and show the product and get the client to sort of visualize what's going on. That's more like SaaS companies will do that. Enterprise companies might do things like that. They'll have a presentation, and I have mixed feelings about those. It depends. There's a good time and place for them, but it's just in terms of closing, it becomes less likely when you introduce a lot of new information.
The cash register every day.
Right.
I don't want to stop and train people. There's no money in it. Now let me ask you a question, okay? There's only 2 reasons you wouldn't do this. Can I share them with you?
Yes, sir.
Number 1,
This is
you
good.
don't think it's going to work. Or number 2, you don't think they're going to use it. Or maybe a third one. It could be a third one. The third one could be, I don't think this is necessarily your case, is you're not the decision maker.
Okay, so if you listen to that, there's only 3 reasons you're not going to do this: that you don't think it's going to work, that they're not going to use it, or you're not the decision maker. Those are the 3 he's introduced. I really like that, and that's something that I've used, maybe not exactly in that wording, but just to preemptively bring up the reasons that he might not be making a positive decision here, as in a decision to go forward. Just to bring that up before the client does that, that's good, and I always promote trying to get, ideally it wouldn't be him saying it, but it would actually be the client answering questions like that. So for example, instead of him saying there's 3 reasons that you might not go forward with this. One is that you don't believe it's going to work, they're not going to use it, those kinds of things. So instead, you basically want to address that head on. Do you believe that they're going to use it? Right? Do you believe that your workers would use something like this? Right? Instead of, do you believe in this kind of product? Right? Do you think it's going to work? Okay, so you can sort of preempt that and ask them to answer that question. So instead of them asking you or sort of having that in the back of their mind, saying like, I don't think it's going to work, or I don't think they're going to use it, you could just ask them, do you think that your team would use something like this? Instead of saying there's 3 reasons that you're not going to do this, and these are the reasons. Instead, you just ask them straight up to address those. So it's another way to do the same thing, which I find to be more effective. But either one of these is preemptive. So it's before the resistance comes up. He's already preempting that resistance and trying to kill it before it comes up. And that's smart. That's a good strategy to do. Whether you do it this way or the way that I just proposed, either one of those is better than just going into it and then getting a resistance and trying to counter the resistance. Ideally, you don't want to get to the stage where you're getting a resistance and then you're trying to counter it. You want to avoid that from happening in the first place.
All right.
Which of the 3 would it be?
With us, let me say this. I've been privileged to sell everything from legalized drugs and pharmaceuticals.
Grant Cardone's like, I'm the fucking man.
In the coin industry for a long time, and I've sold cars. I worked for GM as a regional director in sales and training for them.
There's a but coming in. He's going to say, but.
I've seen your program before with other guys, and I know the program works. It's not a factor of working. It's not a factor of getting our guys to do it, because the key fact that I see with this is the time. Like we were discussing earlier, if it's a long deal, it just doesn't work.
So that's his resistance, is the time.
So that would be
He's cutting him off here.
Right.
Right. But
Don't know if I'd cut him
I
off.
feel that our guys will use this.
So he's trying to push it into one of those 3 options that he's so you're saying it's one of those 3 that I said earlier, that they're not going to use it, right?
With discussing options of buying every day and selling and overcoming objections. And the only thing that I have right now on this is simply having the discussion right now with Ed on, what our expense will be to do this and how long and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a factor of anything else than that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you go to
He's
Ed,
just
when you
like,
go to
shut
Ed,
up. Anyway, let me talk.
how would
Let
you
me
make
say what I want to
sense
say.
of $1,800 a month.
Another good question. I really like that question. How would you make sense of the price that this is going to cost? $1,800 a month, I think was the price you just quoted. How are you going to make sense of that? That's a really good question. So before you bring up the price, this is something you guys should actually consider using, because it's a great question. And that's, again, how do you make sense of whatever your price is? a month or a year or just generally? How do you make sense of that? Well, it's it's a good product, and now they're rationalizing purchasing the product. That's why it's a great question. So it's a good question to ask.
What's the month?
Month to month. It's $220 a month for 18 users.
How would I make sense of the program to him?
Yeah. Is that a 36 month?
That's a 36.
This is a 36-month agreement at $1,800 a month. Okay, so at this point, he would only.
That's
He's
a
gonna
long
have
commitment.
The same question, Shannon. Hey man, are they going to use it?
Right.
See, now I would have actually let the client answer the question there instead of interrupting him.
The only reason he won't do it, if he's the check writer, there's only two reasons. Hey, they're not going to use it, or it won't work.
So he's
Right.
he's
And
putting
that's the
words
only
into
reason
the
he would
client's
have an
mouth, and
aversion to
I'm not sure how I feel about
Because
that.
he doesn't want to be stuck in something they're not going to
I would
use,
just let the
right?
client answer and see what they're going to say.
So now, look, we don't have to do a contract. I can do a minute to minute.
But generally, what's going on here is
So
he's
you could do
leading
a
the
month-to-month
prospects.
contract.
So he's got more
The
confidence
only
that
reason
this
we
is
do
going to work
contracts is
and that
people
he
like,
needs this
dude,
than the
I'm not
client
quitting on
does
my
of
program,
it not
okay?
working
Can you
and
give
him
me a
not
better
needing it.
deal if
He's
I-
just
if I-
super
if I
confident here,
commit
and that's
to
really
using
important.
it? Sure. So we cut it in half. So if you go to Ed and Ed's like, I don't want to sign a contract, it's $3,600 a month. That's basically $100 a day. So now my question to you, for 18 people, how would you justify spending $3,600 a month if Ed doesn't want to commit to?
Now he circles back
some
around to the
term?
question.
The only way that I'll just tell you how he is. He is the type that it's all about the, and I hate saying the word instant gratification, but he's one of those guys that's going to say, at the end of the day, I don't mind spending money on anything as long as we're going to show progress in our business. But if we can't show that what we're doing and how we're doing it is going to give us some kind of plus in the areas that we need it,
Yeah.
and it's a cost that we would have to refer into putting into advertisement or making the phones ring.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this then. What'd y'all make last year? What'd y'all make last year?
So what he's doing at this point is that when he's bringing up all these numbers, the reason he's bringing up the numbers is because, and again, this goes back to me not knowing exactly the full context of the call, so I'm generalizing here, I'm assuming. But when he's at this stage where he's trying to bring in the numbers, the logic there is that, you sell on emotion and you close on logic. So he, in his mind, is trying to get to, or he feels he's in, closing territory. So in closing territory, like I said, you close with logic. So he's bringing in all these numbers to make it logical, to make the decision to close and move forward a logical one. So he's doing that. Well, what did you guys make last year? What are you guys aiming to do this year? Those kinds of questions, right? To rationalize it. So that's kind of what's going on here.
The company did a little over, I think it was $4.5 million last year.
Okay, and how much training did they have last year?
None.
Okay, good. No training. Good. No training.
Right.
So now Ed might say, well, dude, I hired you to do the training. Why am I buying something?
Right.
Okay, well, if you
That's
were a
an
mechanic in a
interesting-
car dealership, because you brought up car dealerships, that mechanic's bringing his freaking mechanic box with him.
That's true.
Or somebody's got to buy him the tools. If I'm a carpenter, I still need a hammer. Even Jesus needed a hammer.
Amen.
Okay, so now check it out now. If we train
Jesus,
your
of course.
people every day, if all 18 of these people do 6 segments of content a day, it takes 4 minutes max to do a segment.
He's really pushing here. Like he's super like confident. Like you need this. Like let me show you from every possible angle. You need this thing. That's leading.
Okay, customer service,
And people want to be led. Some people really do want to be led. Most people do in some way, shape, or another. They want to be led to a decision. Whether it's them saying it and you're sort of getting them on that path for themselves to say it, or like here, you're literally just pushing them onto that path,
Because if you don't,
leading.
come on, man.
Yeah, we got issues.
You got.
I'm with you.
So the whole deal. Let me ask you this: you think we'd make $40,000, $42,000, more than the $4.5 million?
I think. Yeah, I think. Are you asking? I think we make enough to cover the nut on it.
It's $42,000.
Yeah.
You made $4.5 million.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saysaying. So you made this much, it costs this much. You know, do you think your ROI is there? Do you think your return on investment is? If you invest 42,000 and you're making this much in a year, does that math add up? Yeah, it does, obviously. So 42,000, 4 million.
So again, now we're back to what does it cost to hire somebody? What's the average salary at your store? Or at your
So he's doing a whole bunch of rationalization from different angles and trying to basically rationalize putting in this kind of money.
3,500 and 5,500, depending on where they're at for a draw. We do that for 60 days on them, and then past that point, they get a straight commission.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we're spending. At the worst case scenario, and you should present the worst case scenario to Ed, which is month to month, until he's sold on.
So he's kind of consulting him here, you know.
Okay.
He's like, okay, so based on what you're saying, what you should do is this.
Per person.
And he's also asking him questions, you know, and getting him to answer. So he sort of says some things, but not quite enough for my liking.
I'm just writing.
If you do a contract, if Ed's like, hey, I don't want to start this and not be doing it a year from now, which I agree with, by the way.
Right.
Okay. So you could.
So I'm gonna pause a little bit and move to the next clip. But the bottom line here is that this guy is not the final decision maker. He's like the sales manager in the organization, and he's trying to get the owner of the business to agree to purchase Grant Cardone's program here.
It's not a factor of being able to commit to something. I think it's a factor. It's just like in that when we sat down and made the agreement with them. I told them, I said, look, it's business, it's not personal.
So if you missed that, Grant Cardone's like, we got to confront the boogeyman. So he feels that there's something that's unfinished here and he has to confront it. So he's trying to make sure that he absolutely demolishes the resistance. That's his approach here before moving forward. Because he feels that there's a resistance that hasn't been settled. So this isn't going to move forward until that's settled.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Look, I spend money on CNBC every day. CNBC.
So his approach is to agree first and then to counter. So now he's agreeing and now he's countering.
No, we agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I mean, we're spending a little over $37,000 on just basic magazine and TV, or magazine and newspaper. That doesn't count any of our other stuff that we're spending, upwards of 50 and 60 grand a month on.
Okay, so in this clip, it looks like it's cold call training. So it doesn't. I don't think this is actually Grant Cardone. I think I've seen this clip a while ago. The one we watched before, I haven't seen before. This one, I think I saw a bit of some time ago. It kind of seems like I might remember something from here, but it looks like he's going to be training somebody new on how to sell. So let's take a look.
Me a favor, Ryan. Slide over just as much as you can. All right, so here's what you're gonna have to do.
Yeah, this is a sales training.
It's not the easiest day of the week, man, to make calls, but I'm gonna give you one piece of advice, man. Don't hang the phone up. If you want to make 100 calls, man, don't hang the phone up. Just pick it up. You get done with a call, touch the button, dial another number. Okay.
Yeah. So when you're cold calling and you're going through a long ass list, right? You're going to basically want to do that. You want to get it through as many phone calls as possible. Or nowadays, you have systems where they just auto dial. And if it goes to voicemail or they're not picking up, it just goes to the next one. And then you just pick up once it reaches somebody. So that's one way. Or the other way is just don't hang up the phone and just go through as many as possible until you get to somebody. So that's kind of what he's teaching him here, is just to go through the maximum number. Just keep the phone up and just dial the next one, dial the next one, dial the next one.
So here's the script.
Just a bit of basic sales coaching on cold calling there.
Around it and try to learn it as much as you can. You're not gonna
So this is a script, and I'm against scripts. Framework, that's fine. Sales scripts, not usually a fan, unless somebody's completely clueless.
3 or 4 minutes going over the script, wrapping your head around it, right? And you're gonna start finding yourself getting better as you make calls. You got to get frequent, before you get good, right?
Yeah, well, with a script, you're gonna have to review it a couple times and then make it yours.
Ryan from Grant Cardone's office. How you doing today? Wait for him to respond. You're gonna acknowledge it. Great. Hey, do you have 2 minutes? No, man, I'm busy right now, sir. I completely understand. Grant personally asked me to reach out to you to show you something. When works best to call you back? Later today or tomorrow?
Okay. Let's rip that up apart for a second. So here's the thing. He's calling. He's saying, hey, this is so-and-so from this company. And basically he's going right to, I think, let me listen to that again.
Wait for him to respond. You're going to acknowledge it. Great. Hey, do you have 2 minutes? No, man, I'm busy.
So it's like, hey, this is so-and-so. How you doing? Great. Do you have 2 minutes? Answer is obviously going to be no. Why? Why is it going to be no? Well, it's because he has no idea who you are, why you're calling. He's got no reason to really stay on line with you. So why would somebody just continue? Why would somebody say yes? You haven't given him a reason, right? There's 3 things that you want to make sure you cover, and I said this in my last video. 3 things you want to cover in cold calling, right? For any kind of a cold call, you want to cover, who is this? He did that here. Why should I care? Didn't do that. How long is this going to take? He's doing that now. So he's got 2 out of 3, but that middle one's really important.
Right now, sir, I completely understand. Grant personally asked me to reach out to you to show you something. When works best to call you back? Later today or tomorrow? Give me a call tomorrow. Excellent, sir. Great to do that. Let me ask you a question real quick. What's 2 problems that you're having right now that's costing you deals and money?
So I could see problems with this kind of a script. So he's, instead of just, he's saying like, okay, when would be a good time to talk? Tomorrow. Okay, no problem. Now I'm going to try to sneak in some questions. People aren't stupid, right? People nowadays are sophisticated. They know what's going on. They know what you're doing. People are familiar with sales. People know who Grant Cardone is. They know who, other people like Dan Locke are. It's not, if they're in sales, they probably know what you're trying to do. There are many that don't. So I'm not saying assume whoever you're talking to knows all the techniques that you're using. But to just try to sneak in questions, they know you're sneaking in questions. It's a little bit disingenuous. So where he's just asking him questions and expecting to get answers, he's much more likely to get a, you know what? Don't bother calling me. Don't even bother calling me to tomorrow, right? Like I just said. You might even go back on that. So it's a bit risky to do what he's doing here. Not something I would generally suggest. And even more so, I don't suggest scripts. But effectively where this is going is he's going to have another call tomorrow, and he's qualifying the client for that call tomorrow. So that's effectively what's going on here.
If I could solve or fix for you that you would actually take me serious and give me a few minutes. What do you mean? Sir, what's 2 things that your sales team have attention on right now? Things that are costing you money every single month. Phones, prospecting, following up. Probably phones and follow-up. Great, sir. How many salespeople do you have? I have 12. Excellent. How many managers? 4. Beautiful. How many in finance? 2.
I don't think this should
Excellent.
go very
How about
smoothly.
parts department, sir? I got 3. How many in service? 3. How many?
Because again, if he doesn't know who you are, where you're calling from, he's not going to be giving you answers to this. So I'm not so sure this is such a good tactic. It's really salesy, really telemarketery. Not a fan of this.
And then you're going to set the appointment. It's just got to be a solid.
So it's just to set an appointment. I don't know if it's going to be with the same guy or he's just an appointment setter. If he's just an appointment setter, it's just numbers. You go through enough people that don't hang up on you. A couple of them will agree. It's not a good strategy. But here, that's what they're doing. It's like a proper call center. Old school telemarketing. Call up enough people. Some of them will say yes out of the blue.
Call me Tuesday. Excellent.
And
morning or afternoon.
These appointments are people in Miami, so we go.
You can call anybody you want, bro. It can be all over the United States.
So we're setting an appointment for.
To take a look at Cardone University.
I mean, this is old school. Like, really, the way it should be is that they have a funnel, a sales funnel that brings inbound sales. Cold calling is pretty dead now. So to see this is from what year? This is from a couple years ago, so I don't know if they're still doing this. This is from 2015, so 5 years back.
How are you doing today?
But I know a lot of companies are still doing this.
No, man, I'm busy right now. I completely understand. Grant personally asked me to reach out and show you something when it works best for you to call back, later today or tomorrow. Great, happy to do that. Let me ask you questions real quick. What are 2 problems that you are having right now?
Yeah, he's gonna get hung up a lot. He's gonna get hung up on a lot. Okay, it looks like it's gonna be Grant Cardone on the line himself this time again. So let's take a look and see how this one goes.
Okay, so look, if you need $500 this weekend, I want you to tell me 5 ways right now you could go get $500.
So this is good. Basically, what he's doing now is he's actually just really leading the call. He's really taking control of it. It's like, well, okay, it's going to cost $500. You tell me how you're going to go find $500. How are you going to go $500 this weekend, right? You come up and tell me how you're going to make this happen for yourself. Qualify yourself to me, basically. So I like the strategy. It's a bit aggressive, but this is good. Just maybe it could be a bit softer, but I mean it's a matter of taste. But generally, what he's doing here, I like just right off the bat.
You could go do what? Tutor?
This wouldn't work with like a CEO or somebody older. If it's a younger person you need to lead them, fine. Like if it's somebody that's newer or they're not very experienced. So he's also being informal. And this is obviously somebody that he's talking to that's younger, maybe just out of college or still in college. So this wouldn't really work with somebody that's, like 50 years old or something like that. It would be a little bit disrespectful. But with a younger person where you need to push them a little bit, this would be a good communist. This would work.
Dude, you could go beg on the street corner. I could raise $500 at the street corner below me right now.
Yeah, he's just doing this for show. He obviously doesn't need these guys $500.
So you got to decide, man, how bad do you want to solve that problem? And oh, by the way, Steven, you need to learn how to do this, dude, so that you're successful at WFG.
Yeah, we actually have.
Because this is the energy it takes, man.
Is there a way you could forward that email to me?
All right,
Showing
brother.
off his
All right,
watch.
you all good now? You feeling healed?
That was 50.
Yeah, dude. Well, so you know.
Obviously it wasn't. That's why the call's still going.
You know that comes with.
He had some
52
kind of
weeks
resistance.
coaching too, right? So that you're part of.
Now he's going back to here's all the stuff that it
That
includes.
you can call in any Wednesday. Yeah, you can call in any Wednesday.
So he's getting resistance because he's trying to close a bit prematurely.
I don't know, $20 a week or something.
Yeah.
I don't charge you. I gave it to you.
I even tried.
You can call in and say, "Hey, here's the 5 objections I'm having trouble with." And we
Really
can go
reminds
over
me
those
of
in
like
that coaching session.
like a car salesman a little bit.
called authorizing.
So whatever the. Yeah, it's a lot.
The downside to doing this is that you might have buyer's remorse when you push too hard. So that's something I don't really like here.
This is an online platform.
He's pushing him for a sale. He might be pushing a bit too hard, and he's got my regret a sale offer. That's the risk of
Your
this.
username and password. When you created a username and password, you're going to see all the content you need. The 200-page manual, okay? The 300 videos. It's not just about handling 4 or 5 objections. It's about what causes the objection.
It's not
How'd you create the objection?
right now from
What's your attitude like today? Yeah, I think we sent you that as a gift. That was a gift, right? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. As soon as I hang up with you, man, I'm going to go back and check and be sure that we sent all that to you, all right? Okay?
This doesn't sound like a
My
one-call
phone number is
close.
available to you 24/7, 365. I will not let you quit. The next time you think about quitting, retreating, going little, you think about this conversation, all right? Dude, a guy with all that talent, man. Come on, man. Let's roll, bro. How old are you?
He's trying to get him close. He's like, let's just do this. Let's do it.
25, brother.
Do you know what I mean? Like the guy's hesitating. He doesn't really want to do this. He's probably there's a good chance that there's going to be some buyer's remorse here. This isn't necessarily. Yeah, he's not going to close right there. Yeah, it didn't close. Just pushed him a bit hard. I don't think that closed.
Make a little bit of money, man. Dude, here I am just trying to get myself out of poverty. And last dude that called me, dude, I talked him off the ledge, didn't I? Dude, true story. Guy just called and said, I want my money back. Josh is on the phone, trying to explain some return policy, refund policy. I said, let me have that phone. Dude, why you want to quit on yourself? Jump! Don't jump! Dude, quitting never makes it better, okay? How the hell does that move you forward? You know what I'm
Some
saying?
Grant Cardone motivational
I'm
stuff.
driving to the basket
Why do you
by
want
the
to quit on
garage.
yourself? That's turning it
I'm
around.
taking everybody out in the path, and then I'm like, nah, I'm gonna shoot from outside. Dude, you make the decision. Boom.
Dude. Now you make the decision, and what you want to do
That's
now?
what you do. You make a decision to make a program work.
What you want to do?
An audio program, a training, a conference. What do
He's
you do?
got that
You don't
southern
back
tang.
off from your decisions.
You don't back
How many
off
times do I
from
have to
your
tell you?
decisions.
Set a target.
How many times do I have to
You
tell
don't
you?
back off from the target. You make a decision. You don't back off. Burn the bridges.
You make a decision,
Burn
you
the
don't
village.
back off.
Take them down.
Just I like the way he talks. I gotta hand it to him. Like, it's just, I don't know, I like it.
Every day you die a little bit, but don't jump. Don't
Just
commit
that whole, like,
suicide.
the guy in the bar that you're talking to. Man, I had such a tough time
I'm like,
with my
"Don't
wife.
jump, bro."
But don't
Like,
jump, bro.
you're about to
Don't jump.
You're about to commit suicide. You're
You're about to commit suicide, and I'm not gonna let you commit suicide until you buy my damn package. You hear me now?
Okay.
Kind of like that.
Off the ledge. I'm 25 years old.
Anyway.
I changed his life today.
Alright, anyway, guys, this was fun. Maybe I'll do this down the road. I don't know. If you guys have any suggestions or you want me to react to something else, then by all means, let me know. Leave a comment below if you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions. If you haven't already left a like, then by all means, do leave a like. But we're going to leave it here for now. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Over and out.